Mm.
So Bob will have to join us when we join us. So I've got to read a little thing here. Might as well start a little process since it's 5:05. So let me read this. This is a notice of public meeting, basically, of the Signage Bylaw Committee of April 15th, 2021, 5 o'clock meeting, consistent with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. This meeting will be conducted by remote participation to the greatest extent possible. The public may not physically attend the meeting, but every effort has been made to allow the public to view or listen to the meeting in real time. Persons who wish to do so are invited to click on the following, and there's a link. If you do not have a camera or a microphone on your computer, you may use the following dial-up number, 312-626-6799, meeting 875-4373-8314, password 563960. Please only use dial or computer and not both, as for feedback will distort the meeting. The meeting will be audio and visual recorded. So we're talking about 478 Main Street, Sweet Bay, and this is sort of a working session to talk about this particular building and signage, since they've moved down the street from where they were on, what was it up there, like 300 or something, 399?
391.
391, okay. So I have, if I can bring it up, let's see. I need to share here with everybody. It may take me a few minutes to find it. This is all new for me, at least the sharing piece.
All right.
I'm usually on the other side.
I'm glad I'm not on your side because I have no idea.
Yeah. Hmm. Keep on hitting share, but it doesn't want to share with me. Any guesses, Jeff?
Are you, so what are you doing actually?
I want to open a I have a document open on my desktop.
Right, so you did share screen, right?
I did share screen. There's a share down at the bottom.
Yeah, so click that and it's going to show you everything that is open. It's not going to show us your screen. It's going to show you everything that's on your screen. And you can pick one of those things to put up. You can put up your entire screen or any one of your open documents.
Well, when I did that, it just says Microsoft Drive, Google Drive, Box, and Microsoft SharePoint.
Is the document open on your window, open on your computer?
Yeah, it's open as a PDF right now.
Right. So you should be able to tell Zoom that you want to show only that document. when you say share screen.
Yeah, but it's not listed as one of the documents.
Could you forward it to Jeff?
Not from this computer. I got files, advanced. Oh,
There we go.
all right, so here we are.
Okay.
All right, so what you should see is, I'm going to, little history lesson here to start with. I don't even know how I got here, but I'm here, so I'm not going to quit while I'm ahead. So this is the building in 1940, which I've shared with Liz a while back. Dunlap tires. There used to be actually a garage across the street, so obviously the guy was feeding off the garage across the street. And then it eventually came in I got an old photograph from 2014, somewhere along there, it went to Stylecraft. And the Stylecraft projecting internally lit sign is still there. The Stylecraft sign is there, or at least the border of the sign, the mounting element is there with, both have been whited out by Liz and our mother. And currently, this is what's there, little decorative rosettes basically that are on the board. And the sign above has been, like I said, whited out. So Liz came to me and said, we've had multiple conversations on this matter. She says, well, we want to take down the old sign up above, the internally lit sign. We would like to use the original Stylecraft sign and put 20-inch letters in it. And then on the windows, put gifts and flowers as graphics in the windows. This I generated basically based on what she was saying, approximate size basically of the sign board that's there, and with the 20-inch letters on it. And it doesn't meet all the criteria, obviously. The sign's too large. The letters are too large. She has asked if I made the sign smaller and put it in another sign inside the sign. I don't think that changes the fact that the whole thing is a sign, which I've indicated at the time. And you can see that a 15 square foot sign in this particular case comes 85 square feet sign, which is totally off the books as far as the current sign code. When we get a new sign code, we got more flexibility. At this point, we have to live within what we got. So the lettering basically allowed is 14 inches, but the shown is 20 on this thing. So I went and moved on and said, okay, so the middle section is a 15-inch square sign with 14-inch letters. And then in 12-inch letters, if you were to have a 10-foot long sign versus a 7-foot long sign, 7.75 to versus 10 foot, the letters would have to be small to fit in the sign. So if you're looking for something stretched, it would be 12-inch letters. If you were looking something that's just 15 feet with a 14-inch letter, 14-inch letter, then it would be the middle one. The Sweet Bay doesn't fit into a sort of a square. And the one at the bottom is the one I just showed you, basically, as far as a 20-inch letter, 85 square feet. The signs at the top, potentially of the future, basically, you could get a 21-inch letter in a sign that's something larger, a 21 square foot sign with a 16-inch letter. But that's in the future, basically. We don't have that option today, short of going to the zoning board and going for the Board of Appeals. So what's that mean? So the sign really, this is going to come down to how far you guys want to go with the Board of Appeals, what you want to get, all right? So one of the things I was thinking, is there any way of using the Sweet Bay sign, which is the logo basically down here, which is on the bags, stole it from my wife. So I thought that was kind of neat little design someone did for you, or you guys did. That would be nice on the windows potentially, but it probably end up to be bigger than's allowed. On the other hand, I'm sure that would, as long as it was see-through, so to speak, it probably could go through the zoning board and get approved. As far as it going on a sign, it'd probably have to be shrunk in some way or other. But if you just want Sweet Bay up at the top where the florets are, then you got to decide, you obviously want it bigger. You got to decide, how much bigger, and go to the board basically with that. But I would rather see, quite frankly, that sign board come off and a new sign go up there with a little bit of graphics in it, which might be the graphics below or something like that. So let me just move on because I haven't let Jeff talk for a minute. Jeff's going to talk in a few minutes. So here is a typical sign. I'm going to show you three that have recently come in. So here's a typical sign that's going down in Greenwood. So you see it's the sign, a elevation with the sign on it, showing what it is and the information on the sign itself. There's another one here, which is Creations Cafe is changing their sign. They're going to have a hanging sign as well as a new sign. Instead of being a neon sign, it's going to be a regular sign. And they have to go before the board for the bracket sign. And their sign is legal on one side, but not legal on another, in that the spacing on either side wants to be, or the sign itself doesn't want to be greater than 2/3 of the total frontage. And it is more than 2/3 of the frontage, but it's 15 square feet. So it doesn't quite meet all the criteria. So they're going to end up before the zoning board basically asking for a dispensation on that. Then there's a new one that's just come in, Hobby Bunker. It's coming to where the old, I guess it was Maytag or whatever it was down on Albion Street. Their sign itself is legal. You can see that it's pretty broad on there. You measure that sign by the letters itself. You don't measure, because it's not on a boarded unit like yours would be. This one can be 15 square feet, has a horizontal vertical number basically. So you can get bigger. The 15 square feet can be used strictly in lettering. Because it's Albion Street, they want to make sure they're seen as people drive down that street. So they're looking for a bracket sign as well outside their building. You could do a similar sort of thing if you wanted to, using the logo that you have on your bag, basically, and have a bracket sign off the side, so people driving up and down the street basically would see it as you pass by.
Did they, for this combo, seeing that they have the flat sign and the bracket sign, did they have to go before the zoning board?
Only for one item, and that's the bracket sign.
Can I,
Why?
Because the people that wrote this code required it. All right, it wants to be 9 square feet, which it is. All right, and the only reason, when I talked to the town planner at the time, the only reason they wrote it that way was they were afraid that too many bracket signs would show up, and one bracket sign would block another, so you couldn't see it. And they didn't think that the design review board was smart enough to figure that out. So they basically said, we want all this to go to the zoning board. Now, as you might remember, in the future code, basically, that will all be left up to the design review board. No going to the zoning board, period.
can I ask you a question?
Yes,
We like the letters. We would like to
We would
just
like
do letters,
This.
yeah,
We would just like this, yeah.
but the sign that we have now is covering obviously a huge part of our building.
Yeah.
We don't know what's underneath that sign. It's and how it would look, because see how they have that nice, whatever it is, board or facing.
Yep, yep.
Underneath our sign is metal that, and when we take that sign down, it's gonna force us to paint the building.
I thought you were gonna paint the building anyway.
Well, it's a $7,000 job.
Yeah,
We don't own that building.
yeah.
So we're trying, our landlord doesn't want to spend the money to paint it.
What else is new?
So
Yeah,
we're trying to figure out if there's some way we could get a grant or, our landlord basically just spent $30,000 on the interior
yeah.
of the building. And he says the building doesn't need to be painted. And we're kind of in a rock and a hard place with him because we know if that sign comes down, it has to be painted.
Oh, I would most definitely agree with you.
So I need to go to the landlord and say, look, the town is telling us that this sign needs to come down. And the blade sign needs to come down. And we know that when it comes down, the building needs to be painted. What are you gonna do about this? Now, he's a bit of a shrewd business person. And he's already said, I'll fight the town about the blade sign to us.
About both signs. He
About
doesn't,
both
he doesn't
signs.
think they have to come down.
So he's putting us kind of in the middle of this. If I paint this building now, yes, we want it painted. But in 8 years, and I'm still there and it needs to be painted again, I'm gonna paint it again. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to get my landlord to do some of this work or at least split some of the cost. So the sign coming down is gonna create a problem for us that we haven't been able to work out with him. Do you have any advice?
Well, I wonder, on the money side, I'm wondering because there's money out there from the bank, basically for new signs or for,
Right.
and the question is, can you get the bank to give you some of that money? Because it used to be, and I don't know what they've changed it to now, but I know that in fact they had $1,000 up front, free and clear. And if you wanted to get more, then they gave you a good rate or something like that. Now, that was originally for new businesses, new signs, but I know they've expanded it basically to current businesses that want to change their signs. And so that pot is still out there. I haven't seen many people actually go for it. The Kid Carso, I think, did, if you know her at all. I think
Yep.
she basically went after some of that. I don't know how much she got out of it, but she went after it. But as to removing the stuff that's there, basically the one on the roof is abandoned. And yes, the town would probably have to, if the landlord's not going to do anything, the town would have to go after him. And I can talk to the building department about that. The board that's there right now, I don't think there's any stature on the part of the town to have them remove it. The problem becomes when you start applying a new sign in that area, basically, then it becomes a problem.
Right.
So, do you leave that there with the decoration on it and put your sign up above it? And just leave it there? I can't help you on that. I mean, if you start with a clean slate, which is where you'd like to be, there's all sorts of things you can do. But the difficulty is that the landlord, he doesn't want to spend any of his money. The money he's probably spent right now is bringing his building up to code so he can even rent it. And
Right.
that's because they've never done anything for the last 30 years.
Right. And it's the same family.
Yeah, okay.
So he's already said to me, we want the blade side down. We don't want a blade sign. We don't need that.
Yeah.
so when I told him I wanted to take it down, he's like, no, no, don't take it down because the town will never let you put anything like that up again. I
That's
don't
right.
care. I don't care. But
And nobody, even though he will not be able to erect it. At the same time, he will not be able to reuse it.
right,
So
he,
he can't reuse it. He won't be allowed to put another one up in its place just because he has one. So
right.
it needs to come down and he's got to spend the money to take it down.
And it's $650 to have it removed. We've had 3 quotes.
Yep. Well,
So
So-
I've got to approach him and tell him this, and I know he's going to come back and argue with me about it. We want a new sign. We want the building painted. So I've been getting quotes on the painting. We have had quotes to $10,000 down to about 7,200. Because they only have to paint three sides of the building.
well, why paint the whole building? Just paint the front.
It's so awful.
There's boards that are
Rotten.
rotten on the driveway side where I park my car.
Oh, okay. All right.
And that's what's causing some of the expense. Plus the color is just crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
I-
it doesn't reflect us, you know, so that's why we are willing to give him some money towards the painting.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's a very shrewd business person. He owns property all over Massachusetts. And so I just have to have all my ducks in the row before I talk to him again.
Well, I can,
Is there any way the town can provide us with a letter regarding the signs?
let me talk to, I'll talk to the building department.
Okay,
I'm down there quite often. I can talk to them and see what we might be able to do about this to help, at least in one way or another.
right,
But certainly, one of them is the sign, projecting sign that they've got there. It's been up for eons at this point, and the business has not been operating. So there are sections of code that I can point to in the sign code, basically, about
Right.
removing abandoned property, basically.
It
Because
would,
that's what it is.
it would certainly help us if the town was directing some of this so that he doesn't think we're saying we don't like it, take it down.
Yeah, yeah.
Jim,
yeah.
can you scroll back to the property in question? Rather than the hobby bunker.
You hit your mic there, Jeff.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm just asking if you can scroll back to the building, not hobby bunker.
Thank you.
That one?
Yeah,
So, you know, I recognize you're in a difficult spot. I don't know if you have a lease signed, but in general, that's, you know, it's hard to negotiate after the fact if you've already signed something. But, and normally the applicant or the property owner, it's incumbent on them to dig into the rules and figure out what's involved. So it puts you in a hard spot if you've already signed a lease,
we have,
but it still remains correct. You don't have to point this out to him. He should understand this as a property owner, that going forward, the existing signs can't be reused under the current zoning. He can for his next applicant, next tenant, or for you, he can go before us and propose something, and we can either deny, accept it to the extent we can accept it, or recommend that he go on to the zoning board of appeals and plead to reuse the signage. He's perfectly within his right to do it, but he doesn't have any right as those aren't grandfathered just by the fact that they're on the building.
yeah, he thinks,
Well, no, what I'm saying is
yeah,
we don't have to write a letter. We
okay,
maybe can, if that helps you, but he's supposed to be, you know, ignorance of the zoning or the law is not a defense to it. So he can't, just because he may wish that it's grandfathered, doesn't mean it is, and doesn't mean that he can assert that here in front of us. So you can let him, you can tell him that, or you can, as Jim said, Jim may be in a position to have, I don't know if this sets a precedent or if it doesn't seem to me like it would be a problem, but I can't promise this. But maybe Jim can say to the building department, look, let's write a clarifying letter to Sweet Bay saying, thank you for approaching us with your questions. As it stands now under the zoning, the blade sign and the existing signage panel are not with, they don't fall under the regulations, and they would need to be reviewed by the ZBA, right? You'd come before us and say, we want to put our name on that big white area. And although we're not going to use it, we'd like to keep that sign for, maybe in the future, we're going to put our Sweet Bay sign on it, on the blade sign. And we say, thank you. It doesn't meet the regulations that we can approve, but you're welcome to now go to the ZBA with our letter denying it and present your case. Now, who knows what the ZBA would do, right? I'm not going to presume to say it, but that's certainly one avenue. The other avenue is to take that letter to your landlord and say, look, it's not the signage people, the bylaw committee, the signage bylaw people can't approve this, even if he thinks it's grandfathered, and that for you to get a sign, you'd have to go to ZBA, or he would have to, right? Maybe that gives you a little more leverage, and he starts to realize, okay, just because he would like to keep the blade sign there and that big signage panel, he really can't under the bylaws with a new tenant or with a new, occupancy or change of occupancy.
But
So-
it's like, what are the repercussions for him not to do that? He's just gonna get okay, well, then we'll just continue to let it sit.
Yeah, that's correct. But would he be, I don't know, this isn't my purview, but having dealt with stuff in Boston, is he in violation of your lease by not providing you signage? Or, I don't know if you have to pay for signage, or a lot of times people negotiate it. It's part of the package. But if you can't have a sign on your building and he's not willing to facilitate that, you may have somebody that's in breach of your contract. There's leverage in both directions, right? You can say, oh, great, thanks. I can't have my signage. So I guess we'll find a new location. And all of a sudden he's, well, wait, hold on, right? He may right now just be trying to assert something to put it on your plate, or maybe he has a very firm foundation. From my side, when I read the regulations, it doesn't appear that he does, but my best advice is to do the one thing Jim says, maybe check with the building department and have them explain in a letter, so you can go back to them and say, look, this is what I'm hearing officially. Or, I don't know if there's a way that we can, I think if you take that signage down, Jim, didn't you say there were windows under there at one time?
There were windows, but it shows it up in
Did they get closed
this
eventually?
whole photo, basically, right
Oh,
there.
it's much bigger. Yeah, they're much bigger.
So
you know,
actually had, go
there
ahead.
was a bad fire in the building back in the 50s. And I think that's when the windows disappeared and that overhang came. Because there was a picture of the building on fire in the item a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
Yeah. So,
So underneath that white signage panel, we can't presume that it's the same material that's above it and on each side of it?
It's covered in metal.
It's
It's
some
metal
kind of,
sheeting.
wrap around metal thing.
The white is, or?
No, underneath.
Oh,
It's not the clapboard type
Right.
material that's on the sides.
you have no, I mean, you have no idea. I mean, you know, it looks like it's always been this sort of stucco service and then got stuccoed over in the front and then this sign got put up. Because
Yeah.
it's obviously the same sign unit, but as you say, what's behind it? Is it this wall behind it?
It actually looks like it goes over the windows.
It goes over the window, the sign.
So
Well,
my-
Yeah,
it looks, what I'm asking is, did they put up that beige surface and then hang the signage panel on that surface?
yeah,
Or,
they did.
right, so the, if you're painting the building, I'm thinking right off the top of my head, that if that white panel comes down, you're gonna see whatever that beige material is behind it.
Metal, could be
Metal.
painted metal or,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's why we're saying that even if we don't paint the whole building, when you remove that sign, we have to paint those
It-
area.
Right, but I don't think it's like an architectural infill. I don't think there's a
No,
hole, right?
if you were upstairs in the building, you could tell, we rent the whole building, so we have stuff upstairs. You can see where they blocked off those windows. But that Stylecraft sign is over the windows. But I'm sure that there's something in between the windows and the sign. Do you know what I'm saying? There's this metal thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know how I can explain it, but if there's from coping, there's a beige wall there that is above your sign and on both sides of your sign. And it either goes under it, either there's one surface and your white sign sits on top of that and it's the same material all the way.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
Okay. So when it comes down, it's a matter of, is it just a matter of paint to make, you'd paint that area beige if you weren't
Yeah.
if you weren't painting the entire building.
I'm sitting here thinking about this.
Then you put your channel letters on it and you're done.
Yeah, that's one thing, is you take this down and you paint this whole surface some sort of color, whether it be the beige or something else. And I agree that the color is horrendous, but here we are, we're trying to figure out something. And maybe it's a temporary thing where you just paint the area behind this whole surface in here temporarily until you can afford to paint more.
So if we're gonna do that, why can't we just leave the sign?
And do what with it?
Why can't that be the wall? If you're telling us to take that panel sign down
and then paint this
and then
block.
paint that block, so it's gonna be a painted block, the same size as that sign, why do we need to take the sign down at all?
So you'd paint this area here the same color as everything else.
Yeah.
That would be the only way.
Oh, so you're
Yeah.
saying,
We have to find out what this color is and
Okay.
match it precisely.
so,
The only problem is, and it's, this is not my opinion. I'm trying to look at it objectively. The frame around that thing is describing an area. And then when you put something into that, when you put the, I have to think of it like somebody, I'm not on the signage board. I'm some potential owner of another building, a business in town. And I drive by and I see that it's all painted the exact same color, but there's a frame there that describes that entire area. I don't know why that's not the sign, even if your letters inside are smaller, right? You see what I'm saying? If
Yep.
the word Stylecraft floated in that top image, if you took that Stylecraft and you made it exactly 15 feet, just the letters, exactly 15 square feet, and everything else was painted beige, I, opening up a coffee shop, could drive by and say, the sign is the size of the frame,
Frame.
even though the
Yep.
colors will match the wall. And so then I put my committee hat on and I say, I don't know how to I don't know why that person is not correct. I don't know why that frame, which is much bigger than 15 feet, is not the quote unquote sign panel, even though the letters are smaller.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So I'm trying to find a way that's, because
So,
I
so,
would, I would be the kind of person who, I agree with you, but I can't approve it like that. I could say, paint that all the same color, whatever color you want, periwinkle or green, the whole building, so that that frame and the inner portion are the same color as the wall behind it. And then put on your channel letters that you want to put on, like you said, you like the hobby store. Make those fit within 15 square feet and dimensionally correct. And I would say, I don't know that we can approve it because of the frame, but I'd certainly write a supporting letter to the ZBA saying, look, they've got an owner that's not being flexible. They're stuck in this nitty gritty for this quote unquote signage panel dimension, but their intent is correct. Their intent matches the letter, their design matches the intent of the statute or the bylaws. And I would support them painting that all out and putting up the channel letters that they want and calling the channel letters the sign and not this giant panel that you're inheriting, right? It shouldn't be incumbent on you to reface the entire building. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know that we can approve that. It's up.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that, put all those eggs in that basket and then have it not work
Yeah.
out that way.
I need to talk to Peter Cameron, my landlord, and just, tell him we've met with you guys and talked to you numerous times, and this is the information that we know to be true about what's going on in the town, and we want to do this, and this is how much it's going to cost, and we would like help paying for this. Because we do have a 5-year lease with him. We are doing wonderful in this location. Our intent is not to move from this spot. Our intent is to make this spot look more beautiful and keep doing the great business we're doing in downtown Wakefield. So we just have to figure out economically and, if we have to make an investment on the outside of this building, we're going to do it, but we want to have all our knowledge so we can go to the landlord and say, XYZ. We have problems in the building we have to deal with. So, we have an air conditioning system that we were told by the people that fixed the building up for him worked. Well, it works, but it sounds like a airplane is landing when it's running. So now we have to try to get him to pay for a new unit for us. So not only do we have this problem, we have the air conditioning problem. So, it's a little bit of a challenge for us. We appreciate your time in explaining everything to us. And we will have to talk to him and get back to you.
I can at least pursue the building department side of things.
Okay,
Liz, you might talk to Mayo a little bit because he knows some of these characters that we're talking about here. And is there pressure from the other side of town, the political side of town, that can be put onto this guy, whether it be a council member or several council members in Mayo or whatever else that would help you guys, because the town doesn't want to lose you from this, and they already know the history of the characters behind you, basically. So I would say you should be working that avenue too.
right. We, we've been there now since October. And we're just laughing because my grandson just came in the room with his pajamas on and was so proud he put them on. Anyways, we're talking also to one of the banks to see if there's any kind of money available for small businesses to help, because this part of town is gonna look better.
Yeah.
And we're hoping to contribute greatly to the beauty in this area. So we're gonna make sure that it's done with taste and without ruffling too many feathers.
Well,
And-
you guys are an anchor. You can be an anchor if you're not already an anchor, basically, and not under town.
Right,
Unlike some of the others that have been there, you know, that yogurt shops and everything else that basically didn't have an opportunity. So
right,
you've been here for a long, long time. You're just at a different location, so you become an anchor. And when the bank comes on there, there's another anchor, and who knows
right.
what's going to go in next to that, basically,
Right.
when they open that building as well. So
So one of the reasons that we've been able to do so good in Wakefield is that we have always reinvested our money in merchandise. We just keep on selling and buying more stuff and selling and buying more stuff. But now to make a capital improvement on a building we don't own, that's taking money out of our ability to buy product to make money. So that's why we're so conscious about that. You know, obviously, if it was our building, we'd be more willing for these investments, but we want to make sure that we're getting whatever help we can get from both our landlord and maybe the town, or, right, Liz?
well, there's certainly money at the bank, at the savings bank, and you ought to pursue it,
Okay,
basically for signage, all right?
okay,
There is, I think any documentation, I could send you documentation I have, but it's at least 8 years old.
right,
And if you would have talked to Kid Carso, the woman that owns Kid Carso, basically, she can fill you in what she had to go through.
right.
Yeah.
It's much more liberal than it was when they originally put it out. They wanted all this documentation, signs and everything else. They had to go through their own committee about approving it and the like. So you should find out what's available.
Okay,
I'm sure that you have a very good reputation up the bank end of town, basically. So you really need to pursue that. I would
Yeah.
also suggest that you certainly get a hold of Mayo and see what he can do to help, whether that be in combination with some council people, basically, or not. But you should really open that conversation with them.
okay,
And Jeff's right. That you could take, and Liz is reticent about this. You could take the process basically of going before the ZBA and crossing your fingers to see whether, in fact, they'd allow you to do something. Quite frankly, I think they would, as a ZBA member, basically. But it's just my gut feeling that they'd understand your problem. But they'd also like to see, and I'll tell you right now, if you went that process, the ZBA would be ruling on, reinforcing and ruling that projecting sign has got to come down. That
Right.
certainly would come out of the ruling, basically. If they went your way, that would be one of the things that would have to come off the building, period.
Yeah, and
Right.
I actually think that would help your case. You know, you could go and say, well, you can't offer it because it's not your projecting sign. But I almost think that if part of the discussion were, if that sign comes down, then we'll let you do X.
right,
But Jim and Bob, I kind of want a reality check, because that signage panel that it's all in one plane. It doesn't project. If everything were painted out,
It is raised. It
Yeah,
is
but it's
raised.
not- but it's not like,
Too
it's not a huge,
No,
if that
it's
were all
maybe a-
painted out,
Yeah.
It's,
if that were all painted out, I think, think of it this way. You drive by a strip mall that's got 5 units right next to each other, and there's a giant fascia that's 3 feet tall, and it runs the full length of the strip mall. And on that signage panel, people put their little sign in channel letters, right? And conceptually, you only look at the sign, at the letters, and say that that's their sign, even though it's on a big long panel that goes
Mhm.
yeah,
80 feet down the building. So what I'm trying to get a read from Bob and Jim is, if that were all painted out, even though there's a shape that's described that someone might argue is the signage panel, what leeway do we have as the committee to say, no, 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 that's not a signage panel. That's an existing architectural feature on the building, and their sign is just the letters that they want to surface mount on that thing.
Right.
I would say if it was built in to the building, then we could step forward a little bit. We'd be stepping probably over the line, but say it was like a sign band, but it was built in. So sign bands normally go end to end, side to side, right? In this particular case, say this was a built-in and it was a sign band basically that was recessed or whatever into the face of the surface. All right, but it's not. It's hung.
Right. Right.
It's hung on the surface.
Does it project?
Yes, it does, at least an inch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
but it's 8 inches out. It's not backlit, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's not like a box sign.
Right,
know,
exactly.
It's flat and surface mounted.
Because I would love to be able to say that I believe under the current regulations, if everything were all painted one color,
It's gonna blend in.
that entire thing is the wall surface. It just happens to have a little line around, some molding around it. But the sign is the surface mounted letters inside it. And
I think we could recommend that
yeah,
as it is, all right? And at the same time say, we don't believe this is compliant, all right? But that we recommend the ZBA basically approve whatever we come up with here, say it's all painted and the like, we recognize what it is, but we're painting it out so it doesn't become its own sign border.
exactly.
And we, as the design review board, recommend to the ZBA approval of whatever we come up with for a sign, assuming that it's a 15 square foot lettered sign, just the letters themselves, 15 square feet. We can recommend, and then the board can decide. When I say board, I'm talking about the ZBA.
Yeah, right.
But with our recommendation, I suspect that it would go through.
Just, if I can interject, just so we're not, I just don't want to, regarding this subject, we're gonna have to paint, whether we paint the sign or paint the building. At the end of the day, it's like, that's fine. I mean, well, it's a $500 problem. You know, I'll take it down, paint the whole thing, or leave it up, paint the whole thing.
Right.
At the end of the day, I think let's let's save you all a headache, and either way, leave that mounted sign. It really doesn't make a huge difference to us.
Right. Because the building has to be painted now.
Yeah. So I think at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we just need to know, I need to walk away from this saying, okay, this is what my sign needs to look like. This is what I do next. Because honestly, like right now, I'm like, you're kind of losing me. And I got to just say, okay, now I know what to do. Right. I still don't really know exactly what to do.
We're going to get, what we're going to do is we want to get letters.
I'm going to go to Bob Sardella essentially and
Right.
say, you know, the thing you did for the hobby bunker,
Yeah.
we want the same thing. Can you draw it up and we'll present it? That's the end
So
of the
we'll
story.
present it to you and we'll have to take care of the painting stuff. And if we need help, I'll ask you to go to the building board.
I think the letter would be great. I think the letter would be
The
good
letter
if we can
might
do that.
help a little bit.
I'm going to do some research.
Okay.
That's why I've got administrative section up. Probably it's on your screens as well.
Yes, yeah.
I'm just sort of scanning that quickly to see what I can find, but I will scan it and then look over it. I mean,
Okay.
and I'll go down to the building department and say, here's what the problem is. What can we do for you guys? All right.
Right.
I think
No,
that
it would be
it's a
great if
it's a
somebody
multi-
wanted to come and paint our building.
I think it's a you've got a lot of irons basically that aren't quite into the fire yet.
Right.
So, you got the bank to deal with to see what you can get for a sign, some money. Maybe it used to be a maximum of $1,000. I don't know that's changed.
Yeah.
A loan is a different thing. It has to do with, painting it basically. talking to Steve Mayo about your issue, basically to see what on a political side they can do. And you know, my letter or a letter from the building department, what they can do. And once you've got all those little threads, then maybe we can weave a blanket here, right?
Yep,
And at this point, you got a bunch of loose ends,
yep.
and you really need to sort of understand what you've got for horsepower behind you.
Okay, thank you so much. Can I just ask you, Bob, where are you sitting that you have
It's a
this beautiful?
superimposed, it's
Oh.
just it's fake.
Oh, it's a fake.
Oh, I can't see the image that's on there, so that's left
Oh.
over from my last Zoom meeting.
Sunset.
It looks like you're in paradise.
Oh, no, my head's on fire.
No, it looks like California's burning.
Yes,
No,
yeah.
that was on my way to a job site in Acton. And I was driving by and I was like, wow, that's a great sunrise. It was a sunrise. And the sunrises aren't always as colorful as the sunsets. So I said, oh, stop and take a picture.
Looks good.
At
Well,
4
thank-
o'clock in the morning.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you for meeting with us today.
No,
Okay.
whenever you want to touch base with us, you know, and Liz knows how to get a hold of me anyway.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
you know, we can, any way we can help, we certainly want to help.
Okay.
All right?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you
Thanks.
all.
Sure.
Bye.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
So, Bob and Jeff,
Y'all,
turn your mic on there, Jeff.
Why do you need my mic on when I'm not saying anything? Do you want to hear my dog bark?
Yeah, and your kids scream. Well, you can bring your wife forward basically, and we'll check her out and see if she's okay. Or is she, you know, I assume she's
Not
okay.
on a public recorded meeting.
yeah. Is that still being recorded?
Yes, it is. Till I shut off, it's being recorded.
Okay.
So anyway, we have two signs coming before us on Thursday. And one of them is in Greenwood, and it's a slam dunk. It meets all the criteria, pretty bit easy. The other one is the cafe. What's the name of the cafe? Well, anyways, it's downtown, 500, I think it is, 400 Main Street. Creations Craft Cafe, I guess it is. So I've been talking with them for, God, almost a year, off and on.
Really?
The father is on the West Coast. The son runs the business on the East Coast. And they've come to me several times, asked a bunch of questions. And at this point, I think they've got it down. He's supposed to be sending me the bits, pull together the bits and pieces and send me the whole piece so I can send it on to you guys. They want to do a projecting sign. They don't want to do a decorative scroll type of bracket. So I'm going to leave that to I've already told them I prefer it, but I've also going to leave it to the ZBA because it's got to go through the ZBA because it's a projecting bracket sign. The other piece is that his wall sign, even though it's 15 square feet, it exceeds 2/3 of the frontage basically. So he's got two things he has to chase with the ZBA, but he hasn't presented to me anything he wants to do in the windows. And I know that in the future, they're going to want to do something in the windows because they've done it in the past. And then the one I showed earlier, which is the barn.
Okay.
This is Creation Cafe. That's coming to us this week. This guy's coming to us this week. And then that one there will come to us next week. And I think I've already sent the images to you guys on this one. I haven't on the Creation Cafe. I haven't on the cafe yet. So all of a sudden, things are lighting up in town, I guess. So anything, there's one other I've been contacted on, which is, I think is stirred by Creation Cafe, the the nail place next to it is looking for a new signage. So I expect to eventually see something there. That's about it.
Exciting times.
So with that, I guess, basically,
Oh. Now I see myself.
we can.
It looks like you're hiking. You just stopped from cross-country skiing to.
Yeah.
I was wondering what that scarf was. That's
Those
neat.
shaders don't work at all for COVID. Only one layer, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Hate to lose you.
Yeah. Well, but
That's good.
when it's cold out, this thing is it's good. It closes off the top of your jacket.
Yeah.
Very
All
nice.
right.
I'm not typically indoors anyways. So.
He's an outdoors guy. All right, so thank you very much. And I guess, Bob, you won't be with us on Thursday because you won't be able to make the 4 o'clock run.
Yeah, that's right. As a matter of fact, the 5 o'clock I just barely made tonight. So it varies. It's not a fixed schedule. So.
Oh, really? So it's not a
Yeah.
traffic thing?
No. Like today, for instance, I was finished in Acton at 4 o'clock and got home a little after 4:30 and started doing stuff, and then tried to log into the Zoom call and realized after several minutes that I was logging into Thursday's Zoom call, not today's. Hey, Grandpa, what's that?
Operator error then.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Good
All
thing
right.
it's not an IQ test.
All right.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna-
Jim, when you see that text from me, you don't have to respond.
Yeah, I got something while I was here. I didn't respond to it because I was in the middle of a meeting. All right, so thank you very much, guys. This closes the discussion basically with Sweet Bay. Obviously, they'll be back to see us, 478 Main Street. I want to thank you for your help. And if you want to see this again, you can watch it online.
Quick comment, Jim.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like when she said she was going to go to Bob Sardella or somebody,
Yeah.
it almost sounded to me like she didn't realize they had to design it and dimension it and provide us with.
I think,
You can
no,
communicate that to them because the hand-drawn thing was, a rough sketch, but nothing we can really act on. So
no. And I have explained that to her. And that's part of the reason why I showed the 3 different signs from 3 different companies, basically.
Right.
Not to sort of push one company over the other.
it's good that it was all different companies.
Yeah, but to show that in fact, this is what we accept. Now, I've said it to her, but I think her mind has been so, twisted in trying to deal with this whole thing. It's sort of gone over her head. And so by showing those 3 images, basically, she gets a better understanding of what we're looking for.
Yeah, I think she's in a tough spot with the landlord, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, if he's the same guy that owns next door, the Greek, basically, that has been an issue for everybody, basically, at one time or another. So, anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you.